Hi, everyone. Didn't realize that we were live. Sorry about that. So, welcome to another live stream. Let me take out my gum. My name is Rich Schefren. I do these live streams twice a week, Tuesdays from 2 to 4, Thursdays from 6 to 8. And in general, we talk about business. We talk about what it means to be an entrepreneur. We talk about how to grow your business, how to use marketing more effectively, how to use advertising more effectively. And so, what we've been talking about recently is a are tactics that you can use to improve the performance of any campaign, any marketing campaign that you are currently doing. So, as always, if you're just joining us for the very first time or you've been on many of these live streams, I really try to make this as much of a dialogue and not a monologue. It makes it more interesting for you, it makes it more interesting for me, and it also makes it more helpful for you. So please say hi. Let me know where you're from. I'm going to pull up the comments here so I can take a look. And it is a day before we start Thanksgiving break. So let's see here. What am I looking for? I am looking for the window that lets me know the comments. There we go. All right. So just are getting people joining us now. So, yep, cool. And so, yeah, so what we've been talking about, and then I will throw the comments on the screen. So, by all means, if you're watching, please say hi. Please let me know where you're from. One of the things that really makes a difference with these live streams is when they're interactive. Facebook rewards the creator, me, by showing it to more of my fans. And if you want to share it, that's even better, right? So I love you if you share it. I really like you if you comment. And I appreciate all of you for being here. So a couple weeks ago, while I was doing a live stream, I shared in passing that I would do these kinds of launches, product launch formula, because before Jeff Walker developed like the 4 video approach, it used to be much more haphazard, and I actually liked it more that way. And the reason I liked it more that way is because it was a lot more exciting. Like you knew where you wanted to take people, and you'd get into a conversation with the marketplace, and then you would move the conversation each day closer and closer to where you were trying to take people. And so to me, that was like the most fun I could ever have in marketing because each day I'd come into the office and we would be looking at what the feedback was, what the comments on the blog were, what the emails coming in were, what the comments on Facebook were. And then we would take all that and then figure out what's our next move, right? And what I used to do would be to put a lot of tactics up on a whiteboard and then use those tactics as kind of like a buffet, a marketing buffet, to pull different tactics off the whiteboard to put in that day's correspondence or that day's message or that day's video, what have you. And so I mentioned that in passing, and someone on the live stream, and then a bunch of you on the live stream said, I'd like to see that whiteboard. And so I found a picture of an old whiteboard from my old office, and we've been going through that. And so I'll flash that on the screen in a second. But one of the things that was really interesting to me that I shared, well, that I'm sharing with you now, I did a interview last night with Katrina Ruth in Australia. And Katrina is, for those who don't know her, she's a very authentic guru based out of Australia who's really crushing it. And she shared 2 successful launches that she did last year versus 2 that were not. And what's interesting is that she does her launches a lot like this. Like I explained, she might not have a whiteboard, but she has like a checklist. And so similar kind of approach, and she does it more haphazard. Things that is not on my whiteboard that we covered in depth with Katrina last night. So for those of you who are Steal Our Winners subscribers, you'll see the interview in this month's edition. Is the difference for Katrina was that when she was completely sold herself versus times when she was just doing something to be doing something to grow the business, what have you, quite a big difference. And that would make sense, right? That marketing and selling in certain ways is a transference of emotion and energy, right? And I'm not talking about in a na-na foo-foo type of way. I'm just talking about that, if I'm excited and I tell something to you in an exciting way, you're more likely to get excited, right? And that carries over whether you are writing words on a page or whether you're doing videos like this. And it's funny because, like, in a lot of the launches that I did, uh, most of them were very heavy on information, right? Whether it was the Internet Business Manifesto, the Attention Age Doctrines, each of those required quite a bit of research on my part. And one of the things when I was doing research was I was looking for the thing that would convince me, right? So I had to get convinced before I could ever make a really convincing argument. But once I'm convinced, there's so much power in that certainty and that excitement that will carry over. So with that, thanks, Christopher. Let's see who we've got with us so far, and don't be a lurker. By all means, say hello. So Asher, excited to see you, Asher, and excited that you're excited. Mark Waller in London. Hey, Mark, good to see you. Pat from Montreal, Canada. Good to see you. And Kayvon in Vancouver. Good to see you. And Rob from Warwick, England. Good to see you, Rob. And Lewis in Mexico. As always, good to see you, Lewis. And Brian in Houston. Nice to see you, Brian. And we have, Ashley, it's 3 a.m. in Singapore. That is true commitment. So that's pretty awesome, Asher. Hey, Jason from Tampa, Florida. We got the Florida contingent in the house. We've got Bill in Arizona and Michael Lassen. Hey, man, good to see you. Are you still in Cairo? Is that where you are, Michael? Christopher Vogelman from Coronado Island. He's off to another Zoom, but he will return later. Jay Suarez from West Palm Beach, or Joe Suarez, sorry. Good to see you, my friend. I will actually be up in Jupiter for Thanksgiving. That's where my mom lives, so we're going to go visit my mom. Dave Monroe in Mobile, Alabama. And Juan Morales from Panama. Wow, I have a friend in Panama. Haven't spoken to him in a while, actually. Should reach out to him. Matt Gallant is his name. I wonder if you know him. Do you know him, Juan? I mean, obviously, Panama's a pretty big place, but not that big for the amount of marketers, I'm sure. Fats, hey, what's up, Rich? Keep rocking, man. Listening to this while I work on my Black Friday through Cyber Monday thing. We all appreciate you. Thanks, Cam. What are you doing for your Black Friday, Cyber Monday thing? I'm such not a shopper that those things never occur to me as far as putting on sale like information products and things like that. I probably pay a price for that and need to really reconsider. But when your life is a holiday, then holidays are actually more of an obligation than anything else. I know that's probably horrible the way kind of the way it is for me. Hey, Jane Adler in DC. Stay safe up there. I bet you it's probably chilly, I bet, by now. And Miyuki, it's 4 a.m. in Tokyo. Holy crap. You guys are committed. I hope, were you guys at 3 a.m. in Singapore, 4 a.m. in Japan? Are you guys setting an alarm clock and waking up at that time? Or do you just happen to be up at this time? Kind of curious. Hugo from Miami, I owe you a call, but we're working on it. Stefan actually cut up a bunch of videos for me, and now I got to figure out how I'm going to use them. But he took one of the live streams that I did, and he cut it up into 4 different videos and made, what do you call it? I'm drawing a blank all of a sudden. The image on the page, thumbnail. For him as well. And I think we're having a call on Friday. Just my way to thank him, do some one-on-one stuff and get a chance to know Stefan better. So looking forward to talking to you, Stefan. Katrina Ruth is totally awesome. I have a number of her programs. Thanks to your introduction. Very cool. Yeah, she's very authentic. And there is this kind of, if you've never seen Katrina, you should check her out. Uh, but there are other people like that too. I would put another friend of mine who I've worked with, Wes Watson. He's another one who has this, who projects a level of authenticity that is so powerful. And, for anyone who likes Joe Rogan, one of the things that people often say about Joe Rogan is his authenticity. So, when you come across that way, whether it's, you accept yourself and therefore you expect other people to accept you as well, it increases your charisma and it makes you more appealing to focus in on, to listen to, and to take advice from. Let's see here. Nana Fufu. Haha, that's funny. I'll be using that. I think I stole that from David Allen. I think I remember him saying that once. Sandy Barris from the Motor City, Detroit. That's one of the cool things in the reports. You could feel the pure excitement in them. Yeah, that's actually something that Mark Ford, or AKA Michael Masterson, feedback he gave me. The Internet Business Manifesto, and Mark is like a surrogate dad to me. So, what's the best way of saying it? I seek out his approval, you could say, right? And so he read the manifesto and he really liked it, which to me was fantastic. And what he told me that he liked about it, and he said it's a copywriting trick, but I get the sense with you it's not a trick because you're not a copywriter, but that it has the flavor or the emotion of a person who just discovered a secret who was excited to share it, right? If you've ever come across a secret that you really wanted to share, imagine that pent up energy and can you put it on a page, right? So that's what he said after the manifesto. But he doesn't always give me praise. And one of the things, this is actually a great lesson that won't be on this board, and I don't know when it will ever come up, so I'll share it here. When I wrote the final chapter, which I thought was one of the best reports as far as information in it, it wasn't one of the best performing ones, but it was one of the best with information in it. What Mark told me after I wrote that one was, I don't like this as much, which, not what I wanted to hear, obviously. And so I asked him why, like, why don't you like this as much? And he said, there are too many competing ideas in here. He said, you put things in this report that didn't need to be in this report. And you put them there because of your ego, if I'm taking a guess, because you wanted people to know, like, hey, look at this, I know this, and isn't this cool? Which did not advance the sale. And so ever since that time, I've been very cognizant of, am I including this because it's cool to know? Am I including this because it actually advances the sale? And I've done my best to try and be much more discriminate and to not put in a lot of competing ideas if they don't really advance the sale. And one of the things that's really interesting to me is that, with Steal Our Winners, I've been, I do anywhere from 8 to 12 interviews a month. And oftentimes, someone could have like amazing information, but they don't know how to package it and they don't know how to convey it in a way where it's not like confusing and the great idea is kind of buried. So there have been numerous Steal Our Winners interviews where 45 minutes into it, I've had to stop it and then reschedule it for another day, like the following day, because the person hasn't really kind of honed in on what is that one big idea. And so one of the things that I do with guests before I start the interview, and this is just a good thing, I think, if you're doing interviews, but also for yourself when creating any kind of marketing, is to ask yourself to get clear. What is the one action I want people to take after this, right? So like when I'm talking to someone I'm going to interview, I'm like, when we're done, what do you hope someone knows that they didn't know and now does what they weren't going to do. And for some people, they're like, that gets them to stop. And when that does get them to stop, I'm happy I asked the question, right? Because obviously my goal is to deliver an expert delivering a strategy or tactic that when you hear it gets you so excited you want to go do it. And that's not going to happen by accident. That's going to happen because me, the interviewer, and the expert, the interviewee, is both clear on what the big idea here is and what is possible if someone takes a specific step, right? So thanks for mentioning that, Michael. And yeah, so two things there. When you are creating any kind of marketing, you should analyze everything that's in it. Is this advancing the sale, or am I doing some ego gratification here? And ego could be about yourself, but it could just be like cool stuff, right? I remember reading one report, not written by me, and I think it was about, I don't even remember what it was about, what the core idea was, but then it had like 50 other ways you could like improve your business, and it was like, what the hell is this? I mean, that was so kind of out of left field. It really kind of took away from the first 10 pages of the report. But so use that critical eye. Try and emote, right? Try and get excited yourself. You can't write exciting copy when you're bored, right? That's why the whole idea is like write drunk, edit sober. And really try and get yourself in the proper state, right? And look, I'm not suggesting that I am an expert at what we're doing right here, right, with this live stream, but I certainly do my best, right, to get on these live streams with a certain amount of energy, with a certain amount of enthusiasm. Now, since I'm kind of a monotone person to begin with, this is like me amping it up, right? For some people, this is their baseline. But I'm cognizant of the fact that no matter how good the information is that I'm going to provide you, that if I do it in a way where I don't seem excited, then it's not going to be received well either. And so be cognizant of that, right? Get amped up yourself. Only include stuff that advances the sale, and you'll be better off for it. So let's keep the comments going here. So, hey, Glenn, good to see you in the Highland Beach area. Just a hop, skip, and a jump from Delray Beach. And Ron in Dodge City, Kansas. And wow, we got a bunch of people here. P.S. The Cleveland Browns are 7-3. Sweet, sweet victory. Unrelated, but that had to be said. Sorry. I went to school in Cleveland. That's one of the universities I went to. Case Western Reserve University. I actually spent 5 years in Cleveland, and I heard all these horrible things about Cleveland, and so I like Cleveland. Cleveland was pretty cool, at least when I was there. And so after Cleveland, I felt like I must be able to live anywhere, because if Cleveland's horrible, then I can live anywhere and I'm going to be happy. So after living in New York for many years, and then 2001, 9/11 happened, and we decided to move out of the city. We happened to be going down to Disney in Orlando, and my apartment sold much quicker than I thought in New York City. So we were scrambling to find a place. We decided we would live in Kissimmee for a year. When I lived in Kissimmee, no offense to anyone if they live in Kissimmee, but I realized I cannot live anywhere. I hated living in Kissimmee. And so I then realized that, if people are going to make fun of any city, they should make fun of Kissimmee before they make fun of Cleveland. Greetings from the Upper East Side, New York. Yes, Leon, stay safe in New York, man. Those politicians up there, it's insane. And I'm curious, for those of you who are in the U.S., are you really going to wear a mask during your Thanksgiving dinner and just take it down to eat and then put it back up and then wrap your, like, everyone's serving in cellophane and all this kind of stuff? I think this stuff is absurd. I might be doing all this stuff if I had someone who was high risk, but then I would probably say that person should not be at dinner. But I don't know. Maybe I look at it weird, but it's insane. It really is. Hey, Denise. I just joined. I love Cat too. I'm assuming you were talking about her. Yes, I was. I was talking about Katrina Ruth. South of Chicago, not yet frozen, but closing in on it. Yeah, the lake effect. Hi, everyone. Will this be recorded if I cannot stay for the whole thing? It's always recorded. We put them up to YouTube so you can watch them in high speed. I'm a little bit behind on that. Getting an assistant soon, and then when I have that, a lot of this stuff will be resolved. But yes, and you can also watch them here in our group. And then for those of you who don't know our group, if you're not a member, let me throw this on the screen. Uh, it's free. All you have to do is join it. And Strategic Profits is the name of the group. And I put a lot of stuff that actually I've charged lots of money for in the group or don't charge and not available. So some of my paid reports are in there. Some presentations I've done are in there. And you'll see it all up there. So there you go, North. And where are you from, North? That's an interesting name. Uh, Asher, I happen to be up at 3 a.m. Okay, well, that makes me feel a little bit better than I'm not responsible for your bad sleep habits. Gianni, hey, Rich, catching up with the replay from part two yet, but happy to be here. Cool. And Miyuki, I just woke up for this. Used my alarm this morning. Thank you for doing this, Rich. Really appreciate it. My pleasure, Miyuki. It's really funny. Well, I'm much so, I would say that 2006, 7, and 8 were my big days online, right? And if you look at the search volume, it was insane back then. And our site was in the top 500, in Alexa and all that kind of stuff. I've spent many years away, and there have been numerous gurus who've kind of been the big person, and now it doesn't really seem like anyone is. But I'm still a really big deal in Japan, much bigger than I am in the U.S. And so 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, my family and I went to Japan, and it was so cool to take all my girls because at the very first event, there was a 2 hour line for my autograph. People were having me autograph in paint pen their Macs, their iPhones, like the back of their iPhones and stuff. It was like unreal. 2 hour line, and two women started to cry when they met me, which obviously has never happened before in my life. Very cool. Wes is really great. The raw energy of his is electric. Yeah, totally. And actually, Wes and I spent an hour talking on Friday, and it was great catching up with my good friend. He bought himself a Rolls Royce, which I just think is hilarious. I can't imagine a big Rolls Royce pulling up to the curb and then this guy covered in tattoos and just all things badass stepping out of it. I think that's pretty hilarious. Usually you would think it possibly would be an old man getting out, and Wes is not an old man. When are you going to offer the business growth system again? Very, very soon. You can, I promise you that, Mohammed, and we will be opening it up. Hey, Rich, hello from India, and a big fan of yours. Well, very cool. And who is that picture of? Devashish? Is that how I pronounce it? Devashish? Is that you as a child, or is that your child? Asher, I need a mentor like Mark. Yeah, well, so I've been very fortunate, right? Three primary mentors I had in my life, Mark Ford, Jay Abraham, and Clayton Makepeace. Clayton passed away recently. I'm very fortunate that I still have Mark Ford and Jay Abraham. I speak to them both each week. And, I don't know what it was about me. I have to think that it's partly because I had a very tumultuous relationship with my dad. I've kind of shared this here and there. He was a sociopath. He screwed me over. Not exactly the kind of fatherly behavior that you would think, and so that caused some issues for me, as I can imagine. You can imagine, and so when I went to see a psychologist younger in life, one of the things that the psychologist pointed out to me was that I seemed to be on a search for a father figure to replace the father that I had. And that I had done that all the way through, like in high school, I used to go to my friends' houses for dinner with their families because there was no family dinner at mine, and nobody was home. And so I was always adopting like someone else's father, right? And there must have been an element with that because like I didn't go out purposely and try and get these guys as my mentors. It just kind of happened. And I've done one mastermind in my life, like where I hosted it. And in the mastermind, My goal was not to give people plenty of more ideas because most people have too many ideas as it is. What I wanted people to leave each meeting with was one idea that they knew if they focused on, they would get incredible results. And what I did was there were four meetings. One meeting was with me. Then each of the other meetings was with me and one of my mentors. So one with me and Clayton, one with me and Jay Abraham, one with me and Mark Ford. And the idea was I want people to benefit from the same people that have impacted me the most. And there's no question that I would not be here today if it wasn't for those three gentlemen. I would also include Dan Kennedy in that group. I know Dan. I don't know Dan anywhere near as well as I know the other three. Dan and I are not talking once a week on the phone at all. But Dan has created such great material, and I've learned so much from him over the years that I feel bad not including him in that list. But he's not really. I don't. Um. You know, we've gone out for lunch, we've gone out for breakfast a couple of times, we talked numerous times, but definitely his influence on me has been at a distance. Uh, yeah, you said okay. Hi, Rich. Ed from Barcelona, Spain. Cool to see you, Ed. And David Monroe. Nope. I don't know what you're saying nope to. No, that's BS. What's BS? What are you guys talking about? I don't know. What's up, Sir Rich? What's up, Evilio? Good to see you, my friend. I agree, Rich. So many sad decisions being made. Oh, yeah. Oh, you're saying no about the COVID thing, right? About wearing that crap. Being made like these days, it seems, and based on bad data often. Yeah, it's really, I don't want to make this a political thing. I always kind of veer to the edge and then back off. Um, it's hard not to believe that there's more to this than what we're being told. I don't know what that means. It seems crazy. And I cannot believe that they're going to do this again in some of the big cities. I just, like, when I had my store, right? My store had $1.5 million worth of inventory in it, right? It probably had close to another $1 million worth of stuff, supplies, like, everything, right? The cash registers, the POS systems, the inventory systems, the sensors that you put on clothes so they don't get stolen and take off, like all this kind of stuff. The speaker system, you name it. When a business goes out of business, all that stuff just kind of gets sold at like ridiculous discounts. And so for a business to open, you need that front money. With a city like New York, where everything is wicked expensive and, rent, everything's expensive, and you have like half of the small businesses go out of business, the amount of time it's going to take for people to have the kind of money to open up stores again, I don't know. I mean, unless most of us online people start opening stores because we've been making money during this, I just don't know how it's going to happen. And it has me very concerned for a lot of the cities. Yeah, no mask between bites, right? North, Montreal, Quebec. Oh, very cool. My ex is from Canada. She's on the other side, though, Sudbury. No one's responsible for my bad sleep habits. I fully own that. Haha. I'm very much an owl. Plus, most IM people I follow are on the other side of the globe. Well, you also look young, Asher. And when I was your age, if that picture is somewhat accurate, I would go days without sleep. I can assure you that now that I'm 50, that ability, while I can still do it, I pay a price. Mary Lang from St. Augustine, Florida, from Pittsburgh. Some of us appreciate Cleveland being competitive, especially when we're 10 and 0. Oh, wow. A little bit of a jab there, Margie. Very cool. Ha ha ha. It's my son. Very cute then. James, oh my God, I just found you online. I loved the BGS 2.0 back in the day. It changed everything for me. Thanks, man. Well, cool, James. Nice to see you. North, the Thanksgiving face coverings. Yeah, I got that. I venture to say that you had a father and not a dad until the other three showed you what a father who is a dad really is. Huh. Yeah, I guess that would be the case, right? And some of the bad is that there's a lot of my dad in me, but I try and be the exact opposite, even though there's some good qualities. And that's part of my development, I guess you could say, is taking the good parts without taking the bad parts. It will be a decade, if ever, right? Yeah, the city's ever come back. Actually, we recently opened an online store that is doing very well. Yeah, an online store, of course. Actually, a mask mandate is infringing on the First Amendment. Do the Christian thing and stay home if you're sick. Yeah, well, also, like, I don't know. I mean, maybe I just think more tougher than I really am. And I'm not having a Thanksgiving party, but if the police showed up and they said they want to count how many people are in my house, I'd say, do you have a warrant? Like, you're not allowed to just enter my house without a warrant. Like, this is America. I don't know. That's my belief, at least. I'm 36, though. Wow. You look young, Asher. All right, so let's kind of get into the stuff that's not. You guys didn't show up here so that I could just say hello to everyone. I'm sure of that. I wonder. I want to see if actually I can use my iPad for this, but I might bail on the iPad really quick and go to the picture I have. Let's see how this looks. Oh, that's not so bad. And then if I do that, okay. Yeah, but so how is that? Can you guys see all that? Let me know if you guys can see that. I can also put a picture of me if I want, I think. Let's see. Does that work? If I do that? Oh, cool. All right. So this was the whiteboard that I had up in my office uh, when I was doing one of these campaigns, where each day we were deciding what we were going to do based on the day before. Let me know if you guys are seeing this. Just one person needs to tell me so that I know. Okay, cool. Chris, I thought you were doing the Zoom call. Okay, so some of the things that we've already gone over is intensify the pain, right? Like, let me just do this real quick because I think let me make it smaller. Okay, let me just see if this looks, that's kind of big. Okay. Let's make it a little bit smaller, I guess. Okay. So we talked about intensify the pain. We talked about, I'm just quickly recapping here. Intensifying the pain, we do that by helping people see the implications of the conflict. And for those who are new here, and even for those returning numerous times, it never hurts to repeat this, that the way I look at a market is just a group of people who share a conflict. The reason they're still in the market is because they haven't resolved the conflict, and a conflict is either a problem that they've been unable to resolve, so a problem unresolved, or a goal they have been unable to attain, so a goal unattained. So a conflict is either a problem unresolved or a goal unattained. And most people didn't just join the market yesterday, which means that they've had this goal for a while or they've had this problem for a while, and they've been either unable to attain it from a goal standpoint or resolve it from a problem standpoint. So one of the things that we have to do, though, is make that pain more real. We walk around with a lot more problems than we actually handle, or a lot more goals than we actually act on. It's called the status quo bias, right? It's not until things either get bad enough or the possibility is good enough that we tend to take action. There's lots of things that can interfere with our life, but yet we don't feel the need necessarily to resolve it. In fact, one of the things, and this is just, I think, interesting and also useful outside of this conversation, is that one of the things that I would do when I was teaching theory of constraints, which is a very intellectually heavy process, right? A lot of thinking, a lot of studying, a lot of forcing your brain to learn new stuff, right? At the beginning of the course, I would tell people for the next few days, look at anything that gives you friction in your life. Anything that, a door that doesn't close right, a toothbrush that's falling apart, a door that squeaks every time you open it, a desk that wobbles, whatever, right? Any place where there's something that is bothersome that you haven't taken care of, you pay a mental tax for it. And eliminating those allows you to think more clearly and also more powerfully because you don't have these things draining your thinking process, right? All right, so anyway, so intensifying the pain is helping people see all the implications of what this conflict is doing in their life and will do going forward, the price they'll pay, the great things they'll miss out on, etc. And I first learned that from a book called Spin Selling. And if I remember correctly, stands for situation, problem, right? Implication, and I don't remember what N stands for, but it's the implications of a problem or a conflict that make it much more real for the person who's got it. Let me just see how this looks now. Cool. All right. And so the next one we talked about was this changes everything. That in every campaign, I want something in there, and the more the better, that leads the prospect to this thought and then this belief that with this, whatever I'm offering is going to change everything. And, that means that where there once was failure, there now will be success. It's the interjection of a newfound hope, and hope being incredibly important in the, and I was just told that N is need payoff, which makes total sense if you follow that logic. So I want the prospect to come to the conclusion that with this, it will change everything. And hopefully that makes sense to you. And it's a very high bar to set, right? And so people who've worked with me, like Todd Brown or Justin Brook or any of the people that have worked for me or even people I've coached, this is something that I'll say very frequently. Like, explain to me why the prospect is going to believe that this changes everything. All right, so possible to probable, I told you and we all have certain self-doubt that we don't necessarily broadcast to the world, but we know we're very familiar with our own faults. And so we might believe that something is possible. Like, I know you can do it. I know you can teach others to do it. But if you knew my situation, if you knew how bad I was, if you knew what I knew about myself or know about myself, you wouldn't say that I could do it. And so what bypasses that is to be able to describe the prospect situation well, right? Describe the problem better than they can. Describe the situation that they're in better than they can. One of the comments I would often get back from my reports was people would tell me that it felt like I was standing over their shoulder, that I was writing about them. And when you do that, right, you automatically bypass this problem. Because if I can describe your situation, then it automatically implies, one, I know exactly where you're at. And two, it means that when I make a promise, I'm talking to you. And that's really powerful. And if you've ever read a book, watched a lecture, listened to an audio where they were describing your problem, your situation, I'm sure you hung on every word of that, whatever you were consuming. That's what turns possible into probable. Okay, peg a high price. This really simple. We can prime a prospect by just mentioning a much higher price point, even if we're saying it's not going to cost this, right? I gave the example that in my very first launch, I kept throwing out the number $25,000, and I kept saying it's not going to be $25,000 for this coaching program, even though my partner Jay Abraham often charges $25,000 for just a weekend. So, and by saying that often enough, people just kind of peg that price. All right. Obviously, I'm going through these a lot faster than I did when we originally went over them. Give the coaching vibe. If you're selling a box, we had a long conversation about this. I'm not going to go through the whole thing again. But, people have had numerous experiences of buying something and not finishing it, right? Of buying a box of stuff, not actually deploying it. And so can you make the box seem like it's more than just a box by making the prospect feel, and that means also possibly changing your offer, so that you can kind of give the implication you've either put a lot of thought in and so they have minimal work to get to the outcome, or that you're guiding them every step of the way. And one of the things that I mentioned on one of these live streams was that after teaching like Russell Brunson and Mike Filsaime, the webinar process, right? Because we had developed automated webinars before everyone else, and I gave both Mike and Russell the software that we were doing to run our automated webinars, and then I think Mike took that code, altered it, and then created EverWebinar and Webinar Jam. The Russell sent me one of his automated webinars that he was crushing it with, and it was high ticket selling secrets, and he wanted me to watch it, and kind of like, I guess, the way I wanted Mark to read the manifesto. And I was watching it, and to be honest with you, I hated it, and I thought it was horrible. And it was high ticket selling secrets, and the 3 secrets were: you don't need a lot of traffic to sell high ticket, you make more money selling high ticket, and you don't have to get on the phone with people yourself to sell high ticket. Those were the 3 big secrets. And I just thought, like, puh, right? But then he got to the offer, and the offer was so good. And a couple things happened for me immediately when I saw that offer. One, I was like, I totally get why this is doing so well. Also, I now recognize why I have spent so much time honing my marketing chops, because I've always developed bad offers. And that from that moment on, I needed to spend a lot more time developing the offer. And what I mean by that is that the offer is not only like, here's what I have, I will give it to you for that, right, price. It's not just a question of that. The offer entails everything. The offer entails not only what someone has to pay, but how they pay, right? But the offer also entails, like, what am I going to have to do after I get what I'm buying from you to get the outcome that I'm actually want that's causing this purchase? And what I mean by that is that can you make it so that it feels like there's not a lot of effort on the part of the prospect? So, with Russell, he was like, I'm going to give you the page to put on your website that people will apply for your high ticket program. I'm going to give you the sequence of emails we send people that you can change and alter and modify to make your own once they apply. I'm going to give you the ad to run to find a commission-only salesperson. I'm going to give you the questions to ask that salesperson, the people that call in who want the job. So it really felt like I could buy this course today and I could be selling high ticket tomorrow. And nowhere in the whole presentation did he mention that you have to have a product to sell for high ticket. And I know no matter what, I wouldn't have been able to help myself, and I would have went into that, which would automatically slow down the sale, inject a whole bunch of objections in people, and it just went as another confirmation of Russell's genius. But more often than not, when I look at offers, they can be vastly improved. And if you want to really ratchet up your growth for next year, you should spend some time towards the end of this year looking at your offers and how can you do more of the lifting and have the customer do less of the lifting. And when you do that, it's extremely powerful, as that example shows. So that was, I guess, a tangent. Surface objections, we talked about that, how powerful it is, especially if you're doing something automated, to consistently get feedback and refine the process. But then also in the campaign, if you're doing it live, to ask people. And I gave the example, I think last week, that after I wrote the manifesto, I asked people, now that you know this, why will you not succeed? And people gave me their answers. I took like the first 200 or so, and I looked at all their answers, and then I whittled them down to the core reason or the root cause of all those objections or obstacles or what have you. And I showed them that it was really only one thing. There was one problem that was causing all these problems. And I think we'll get to that approach. I think it's one of the ones that I have here. Yeah, it is. So I'll explain more in a few minutes on that. Eliminate objections. We kind of covered that. Sense of community. We covered that, and I'm not a big expert on that, so we'll skip that. Push button tool. We covered that, and also that's not my greatest thing. Regret putting this in. Okay, so this is great. I shared this before, but I'll share it again. And props to John Reese because it was his. You know, you always want to, if you can, create urgency, right? Because any purchase delayed is a purchase that is not likely to happen. So how do you create urgency? Well, one way to create urgency is the combination of scarcity and social proof, right? And I gave the story about how like we did a cut to the front of the line pass where people got an hour's head start, and the cut to the front of the line pass had 1,500 people, and for 150 spots. And those 1,500 people filled up in an hour, and we did the page in Ajax so that people could actually see the names being added in real time. And it made it clear that there were at least 1,500 people who wanted these 150 spots, which meant that you were going to have to act with urgency the next day, right? And with the example that I have written here, this came from John Reese. John Reese did this seminar that I was lucky enough to be at, where he taught like his whole way of operating. And then he turned that into Traffic Secrets, a program that he sold, right? And it was the first one that did $1 million in a day. And in the promo for Traffic Secrets, he said something to the effect, and I don't really remember the exact thing, but this is the gist, that in the seminar, he had shared like 3 places, let's say, where you can find the absolute best outsourcers for the least amount of money. And it was a mistake to include that in the Traffic Secrets course, because the less people that know about those places, the easier it is for the people that know about the place. So it was a mistake. It's in the first batch. He printed 1,000 of the first batches of the course. So in the first 1,000, that DVD is in there. But from that point forward, I'm going to have to remove it because that's about the maximum number of people who can know about this thing without it ruining it for everyone, which then creates this need, right, to get that first grouping, hence urgency. By how? By scarcity, because there's only 1,000 of those. And the social proof was already there. People already knew about it. Let me know if this is making sense to you guys. I'm going to check back in, and let's see where we're at. All right, let's see. Okay. Okay, it looks clear, looks great, looks good. I'm back. It's a short Zoom call. A miracle. Yeah, that is a miracle. N is need payoff. Yep. Okay, got it. Need payoff. Situation, problem, implication, need payoff. Great book, by the way. Highly recommend it. Spin selling, that is. Giancarlo, Rich, quick question. In a pre-sale page lander, you have to do a full marketing. You have to do a full marketing argument in it, or is it just what? There is like a formula of flow or a structure to create a pre-sale landing page. In my case, I'm an affiliate promoting a webinar from Igor, don't know who he is, which, by the way, the first half of his webinar is all about his story, and then he shares some tips, and then at the end, he pitches his high-ticket product. All right, so let's talk about this for a second, right? So in order to talk about this intelligently, though, what I would say is first, like, I need to explain a couple of things that I believe that will be relevant to your question, right? So I believe that that marketing and selling are different, right? And that you need to have definitions of those differences in order to be able to operate effectively. Now, there is no standard definition for marketing, so you kind of have to choose your own. And same with selling. So for me, marketing is where you teach people how to value your product, right? You teach people how to value your product. You're creating beliefs that make the selling superfluous because beliefs are lined up so that when the person feels the need to take action, they go in the direction of the beliefs that marketing laid down, right? So marketing is about creating beliefs. Those beliefs are related to how people should look at your product, therefore to value your product. And then in selling, we're pushing people out of the status quo, right? Now, the reason why that's important, or the reason why we want to distinguish between the two, is that it's 10 times easier, if not more, to establish a belief or alter a belief outside of the selling environment. It's right now, right? If you're listening to this live stream to learn from me, you are open and receptive to hearing what I have to say. You're not necessarily critically analyzing everything I'm saying because we're and anything I tell you could be suspect in the sense that I'm telling it to you so that I can sell you. Okay? So, what I have found is that in order to alter the beliefs, and this is based on everything I learned from NLP and hypnosis and all these things, is that we really want the belief change, if possible, to be outside the sales situation. So, that means that it has to happen in the marketing process before they get to the sales letter, the VSL, the webinar, whatever it is, right? And the footprint that marketing can have is one of these pre-sale page landers, right? It's often been called the jump page, bridge page. They've been called lots of things. If you remember those fake mommy blogs, those were pre-sale landing pages. They're now illegal, right? Or the fake press articles that then lead to a CPA offer. And by CPA, I mean cost per acquisition, like think of the most popular diet things, like a Kyberry or a Cyberry or whatever that is. Those kinds of things where you can sell 5,000 units a day. Oftentimes they'll be giving away a free bottle, free plus shipping and handling, and then they bill the person 10 days later. And for the affiliate's getting like $50 right up front for the sale. So even though there's no money changing hands there. And, because it's so lucrative, and that's why the CPA side of the internet is highly scalable, but also highly sleazy, and so you got to be very careful in it. There's so much money involved, people would create these one-page like landing pages that would handle all the marketing. So Giancarlo, here's how I would look at it, and let's see if I can move this here. Oh, look at this. This is kind of cool. All right. So what I would say is, and I'm just trying to move stuff around. I've never done this before, so let's see. You have now, right? This will make sense in a second. After, ideal. And let me move me. Okay. So we have this one page. What you should think about, Giancarlo, is where are people right now? Like, what are they, if they click on, like, how did they get to that page, and what must they believe in order for them to arrive on this page, right? So if it's an ad for a diet pill, or it's a link about diets or weight loss, then now is frustrated with their weight, trying to lose it quickly, like whatever you can gather from the person, right? So I'm just gonna, like, for no other reason than I've used this before. We'll use, like, in the pickup scene, right? So the person, like, let's say we're sell a course on how to pick up women, right? So what do we know about right now for that person? If they're looking to, learn about picking up women, we could say that they're lonely, you know, um, there are a lot of things. In fact, I think I might even have an example of this. Let me just see if I can pull that up real quick because I've already given this more thought than I will be able to here. And Michael Lassen will know it because I actually used this example in the report writing workshop that I did years ago, if I can find it, and I should be able to. So here we go. All right. Sorry, guys. All right. Let's see here. Nope, those are all promo stuff. All right. Let's see. Is that the? Those are. Da, 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 da. All right. Can't find it. Can I? Let's see. No. Oh, there it is. No. No. There. I got it though. All right. All right. So what we want to do, and as I'm kind of looking for this, I can kind of walk you through. We're looking at what would be the ideal belief set, like, and context and situation that would make buying your product like the no-brainer for that after, right? So the after is like after they've used your product, after they've gotten the result, what is life like, right? And then the ideal is what does someone need to think, feel, and believe in order for them to buy that after, right? And there might be some things that actually interfere with, there might be certain beliefs that interfere with it, right? And the reason I wanted to do the pickup artist one is because, a lot of people a guy might think, well, only losers buy that stuff, right? And if that's the case, that they feel that way, you have to give them a reason as to why it's not only losers that buy that stuff. I can't seem to find it, which is a bummer, but we will make do. Let's see. Yeah, I just can't seem to find it. I will look one other way, and I apologize, guys. One of these days, I'm going to get wickedly good at doing these live streams and figuring out like when I should have a producer and when I shouldn't. Let's just take a look here. All right. I've got it in the contact sheet now, so it's a lot easier for me to page through it. And as I'm paging through it, I might have just wrote it on the board there, but I thought I did it. Let's see. There's the chain of beliefs. All right, let's see. Yeah, I don't see it. All right, let's go back to this then. Okay, so they're lonely. Think they think pickup courses are for losers. Right? Like, and a bunch of other things, right? Now, if someone believes this, right, it's going to be hard to sell them, uh, you know, uh, dates with multiple women, um, in demand, whatever it is, right? And I know I'm not giving the best examples here. Sorry, this is just not my wheelhouse as far as the pickup scene. And so, what does someone need to believe in order to buy what's over here, right? And we'd have a much longer list. Deal with what's over here. And so whether it's a long campaign or a short campaign, and the short is campaign it can be is one of these bridge pages. You want to move people to this, right, as much as possible, right? So let's say, for example, think pickup courses are for losers, right? So, even in a bridge page, right, it could be the story of, I used to think that learning how to pick up women was only for the nerdiest people out there. However, what I came to discover was that most men who are good with women learn that from an older brother or a father. I didn't have either. And because of that, I consistently struggled to talk to women who, whatever, right? And so what I'm doing there is I'm dealing with the situation and trying to confront it. And if I only had, right, one page, you might need to be as direct as that. Remember this, right? And it's something I've said on countless of these live streams, and that is revelation before explanation. Now, many like when I'm writing a report, I live and breathe by that. I'm going to try and get you to have the revelation before I ever explain it. I'm going to try and cause that aha, that epiphany moment in you. This way, when I say it, I'm just confirming what you think, right? As opposed to me telling you how something is, right? But if you've only got a page, there's only so much you can do. So in that particular case, you might not be able to go for revelation before have to go right there for explanation. And what you would do, Giancarlo, is think about the biggest obstacles to making the sale. That maybe in pickup courses, maybe it's like, think pickup courses are for losers. Think, that it's, whether you get dates or not is completely based on your looks. Whatever beliefs this person might have here that would interfere with them being in the ideal mindset to buy the product. And when you're clear about that, like believe in order to make them must buy this, right? And what do they believe now in relation to that? And then you know exactly what you need to do. Now, let's see if I can go further. Yeah. So something else I taught countless times, right, is that if you want to understand why, like, if you want to understand what someone believes, all you got to do is look at their behavior because behavior, right, is guided by our beliefs. So I got to improve my handwriting, right? By watching someone's behavior, I will hypothesize or make certain assumptions about their beliefs. And even questions I get on a Q&A call, I try to look below the question, like what must someone believe in order to be asking me that question, right? And it's just a good habit to get into, right? Of trying to kind of approximate or assume or guess what someone must believe in order to do that, right? Like, for example, if someone really does put on a mask for all of Thanksgiving dinner and only takes it off for bites, then we can pretty much assume that they believe it is extremely dangerous, that they could catch it around their family, and that they also believe that safety is their responsibility. And so we can start thinking about all the things they must believe to exhibit that behavior, right? For someone like me, I like, even though I'm 50, I still haven't come to terms yet with the fact that, you know, intellectually I've come to terms with the fact I'm going to die, but I haven't yet kind of had any of those moments where my mortality is now clear, like, things breaking down and stuff. And so, obviously, if you're somewhat careless about COVID, you must have an element of that. I certainly do. You probably believe that if you got it, it wouldn't be that bad because you don't have any underlying health conditions or whatnot. But we can kind of guess. And that's my point, right? Because once we can guess what someone believes, that would be here. And we also know what the promised land is. So if we know what the promised land is and we know where they currently are, we then just have to kind of use our brain and think about where they are now to where we need them to go. What do they need to believe in order for this to be the no-brainer? Let me know, Giancarlo, if that helps. I hope it does. I hope it does. Let's see where we're at here. Oh, lots of stuff. Okay. Yes, making sense. Great recap. Thanks, Rich. Great tip, Rich. You're welcome. Love this, Rich. You're awesome. Well, thanks, Paul. Are you still applying this approach today for Steal Our Winners or other clients? Are there any changes or different emphasis for today to gain and retain attention? Great question, Mark. So a couple things on that. One, I'm not using this as much with Steal Our Winners, and I'll explain why in a second. The other, though, as it relates to attention, I am nowhere near done talking about attention. And even though we're talking about this, I'm still reading more of my old stuff on attention so I can then look at some new stuff. And I've got a bunch of books. I mentioned one the other day. That one's, I went back through, read it, put my notes in to Evernote already, and I'm going through it. And that was Ken Saccharin's book, Attention. And he makes the case, and you know what? Like, I think I'm there too, that attention is more important than persuasion in marketing. And let that kind of settle. That attention, it's harder to get attention than it is to persuade. And so it's not that attention is more important because without attention, you can't even persuade, although there's a valid argument that. It's that it's actually easier to persuade someone once you have their attention than it is to get their attention when you don't have it. And I think that when you start really considering that, you recognize how important attention is. In fact, one of the things that I was saying to Katrina last night was that, in the interview, was that one of the things that I always do when I did campaigns like this was I would always try to put something and front load it into the beginning of the campaign that would get attention, because that would really kind of set the universe for who I could potentially sell. And it's too easy for things to kind of just get lost, right? Kind of like I did my big 24-hour live stream in February when Strategic Profits was still co-owned with Agora, and almost nobody knew about it. I had as many people on my live stream in 2008 that I did for 24 hours just sitting at my desk than I did with Russell Brunson, Ryan Dice, Neil Patel, Todd Brown, Ryan Levesque, you name it, they were there. Katrina Ruth. And that partly was because the marketing in front of it just wasn't all that. And those were some of the issues I had with them. There were a bunch of stuff I wanted to do earlier. But I've always done something at the beginning of a campaign to get a lot of attention. So, in 2006, when I released the Manifesto, people were not giving out stuff like that for free. In fact, most people were charging for, kind of nice PDFs at that time. I gave it away free. That was enough, right? In 2007, Strategic Profits was the first company to ever live stream from a seminar. And we had 10,000 people tune in because no one had ever done that before. And so that was interesting. In 2008, I did the 24-hour live stream, and no one had done that before, at least in our market. So that was interesting. I've always tried to do something of not a publicity stunt, but that would probably be the best way to describe it, just to give people something to talk about to other people about what's going on, right? To stimulate word of mouth, something interesting, something unique, something to talk about, social currency. And so that was something that Katrina was like, oh, I've never thought about that. That's a good idea. And so I passed it along to you guys as well. But yeah, so back to your question though, Mark. So one, I will be circling back on about attention. We finish this whiteboard, that's where I think I want to head back to, unless other people have other questions that take me down other trails. So that we'll spend more time on. And then, one of the great things about Steal Our Winners, aside from it being a great product and all that, and I'm not trying to pitch anyone on it, but is also for me personally that I've always struggled to have a good front end because I'm a system strategy kind of guy, right? And there's nothing generally overly sexy about those things when you're trying to sell a front end. Now, you can do it. It's not easy and it's challenging to make something that is system-based or process-based inherently sexy. I'm not saying it can't be done. I've seen numerous examples where it can be done. But it's the tactics that are the most sexy part of our world. And I'm not a tactic guy. So I've never had a tactic-based product. Steal Our Winners is strategy and tactics, but mostly tactics. And so I'm just relishing selling something that is so inherently obviously valuable right out of the gate. And I think we just started advertising one of our promos for it. And over the next couple of weeks, we should kind of get them all online. And I am super stoked for that. All right, let's see. Where are we here? Okay. But you need to do in the pre-sale page lander, or is it needed since the webinar is already doing this story and marketing part? Well, no, you do need to do it, but you need to do it not with his story, like maybe your story. And maybe it's that, you got on the webinar and you were bored for the first 10 minutes, but as he kept telling his story, you could see your story and his story. And then, you have to, like, you should sell them on two things: the outcome, right? Like anything that might interfere with them buying the product, like getting that outcome you want to address, but then also getting them to sit on the webinar. One of the things that like I did with when Jay Abraham and I and Stephen Pierce did this series of 3 teleseminars. After the very first one, it was a series of 3. We $199, and then if you wanted the transcripts and the audios, it was another $200. And if you wanted, there were a couple upsells there. But after the first session, right? People paid for these 3 calls. This is in 2003 or 4, I don't remember. We asked people if they got a lot of value out of tonight's call. We would love for the feedback. We'd love you to tell us what you got out of it, what was the best you got out of it, what difference it'll make in your business. And we're not trying to bribe you, but we do want to compensate you for taking the time. So anyone who got crazy value out of this, we will send you this DVD of something else and hundreds of great testimonials. We took the top 99 of them, we put them in a PDF, and then we sent it to the rest of the file that hadn't bought. And it said, unfortunately you missed last night. These 99 marketers didn't, over X number of thousands didn't, but read what 99 of them had to say, because it's not too late. You can listen to what they just heard last night today and be live for the second call. And we sold a crap load. And the reason why is we got a testimonial for the call. Now, we used to also get testimonials for our webinars that were pitching products, because that's an easy way to get people to show up to the webinar. So Giancarlo, I don't know if they're immediately going to watch that webinar, or they have to schedule it a couple days in advance, or how it works. But your bridge page should do 2 things: make them more likely to buy the outcome, and 2, more likely to engage in where you're sending them. So hopefully that helps. Anyone else hearing an occasional message notification from the stream, or is it just me? Huh. Let me know, Asher, because I've been hearing like a weird thing. Not here, not today, not now, but I have been from my computer. So it could be coming from my computer. Let me know. I'm a visual learner, so loving the iPad idea. Cool. Yeah, I draw my iPad too to explain concepts when I'm live. Love that you're doing it now, Rich. Cool. No worries. This is excellent. Thank you. I get it now, but now my doubt is what flow needs to have a pre-sale page lander that takes them to a webinar that already does the marketing argument story and the pitch at the end. So marketing is needed in the pre-sale page lander, or isn't necessary since is already marketing argument inside the webinar? Sorry for the confusing question. Look, anything that you can do to buttress the argument, like kind of make it stronger, anything that you can do to get them to buy into that person would be very valuable, like to edify and look up to that person, right? A guy can pull up in, a guy could be wearing like faded, dirty jeans, a flannel shirt, be driving a beat up old pickup truck, and get out and give me stock advice. If I don't know who that is, I'm going to be like, I'm not wasting my time. But that could be Sam Walton. I mean, he's dead now, but it could have been Sam Walton. So knowing that it's Sam Walton would make me stop and listen to every word he's saying, right? Or it could be Warren Buffett, right? he doesn't dress like all that, and he doesn't drive nice cars. So what can you say, Giancarlo, about wherever you're sending them that like a true opportunity to learn from this wonderful genius who's helped so many people, whatever, right? But anything that you can do to get them to pay more attention, to be more likely to show up, to buy is what you should be doing. And look, it's not a question of whether you have to, but doing these things will increase conversion rate, period, if you do it right. And you should be very interested in that. In addition, you should probably, if you're sending them to your own landing page, you should put a pixel on that page so that now you're creating your own pixel audience so that the next time you promote someone else, you already have that audience that you can now reach at a fraction of the cost of what time if you're staying in the same niche. Hopefully that makes sense, Giancarlo. So marketing is still needed in the pre-sale page, Lander, or is okay? We just answered this. Great insights. Thank you. At nearly 63 with an underlying health condition, mortality is a lot clearer to me. I get it. I get it. Wow. Love the concept of creating an aha insight moment. Side note, which books do you most often recommend in marketing, business, and mindset? I don't recommend, I'm asking. The challenge for me, and at one of these days, I previous live stream not that long ago. I read so much, and every book, well, not every book, but most books have value depending on where I'm at the moment, what I'm looking for, and things like that. So I don't really have a favorite, have a crap load of favorite books. And once again, a lot of that depends on my overall, like what I'm interested in the moment. Certainly, I would not argue with anyone that like is a phenomenal book, which is why my notes are in the Facebook group for that. One of the things that Todd Herman, the guy that wrote The Alter Ego, friend of mine, one of the things that he wants me to start doing on these, and I'm thinking about doing it, I just been slow to it, is to do a section during these live streams and maybe create a podcast out of it called Marketer's Notes, where I give you my notes for different books I've read related to marketing, selling, etc. Right? And even when I'm reading books that have nothing to do with marketing, I still see a lot of marketing in it. I was just looking at the books that are on my desk right now. Yeah, like it's hard because like in the last 2 days I've read like 3 or 4 books. Right? Like I wouldn't necessarily recommend any of these unless the issue is the issue, right? So I started reading this, The Relationship Cure, and this is all about how people communicate with one another and how when you're communicating, like generally in a relationship, and it doesn't have to be a love relationship, although it can be, is that conversations are bids for connection, and then the response is either a turning towards, turning away, or turning against. So if let's see, I'll just read you an example. I thought this was kind of interesting. Bid for connection, right? So someone says, I finally finished painting the kitchen. A turning towards response would be, wow, what a big job. I bet you're really glad it's done, right? You're bonding with the person. They said something, you're now incorporating it back and giving it back, right? A turning away response, right, would be, I finally finished painting the kitchen, would be, have you seen my glasses? Just totally ignoring it. And then a turn against response would be, it took you long enough. So I don't know the implications yet to marketing, but I bet you there are. And this is something that I'm currently reading. This is another book that I did read, The Essential David Bohm, because I'm very interested in ontology, physics, and things like that. Enneagram transformation. These are, what do you call them? Affirmations related to your Enneagram type. I'm a 4 with really strong wings of both 3 and 5, which if you know me makes total sense. And then I read this, and I haven't read any of his books. I know my girlfriend Kim is a fan of his. I've met him numerous times. John Assaraf. I wanted to read a simple book on goal setting, and this one was pretty good. It's called The Street Kid's Guide to Having It All. And really, I was just looking for a simple goal setting thing because I wanted to get more clarity on my own goals And sometimes simple books kind of are helpful for that. Like even when I'm reading like something on attention and something academic, I might switch around and then read a kid's book on it just to see how it was explained to kids. So one of these days I'll create a long book list of the books that were most impactful to me. Two that just come to mind. They're not marketing books at all. But two books that I really enjoyed a lot, got a lot of value out of them, and really made a difference for me. One is The Courage to Be Disliked, which is all about the psychology, and I'm a big fan of Alfred Adler's psychology. It's one of the best-selling books in Japan. Kind of crazy. Then the other one is When Nietzsche Wept, and that's a story, it's a novel written by Irvin Yalom. Irvin Yalom. Irvin Yalom is a psychologist who actually developed group therapy. He's the originator of that. And he likes to write novels as well. And he wrote When Nietzsche Wept, and it's a fictional story of what would have happened if Nietzsche would have bumped into Freud and Freud would have been Nietzsche's therapist. And what I love about books like that is that like I didn't know as much about Nietzsche as I wanted to. I know a lot about Freud, obviously, but and so this was a novel page turner, right? That while I was in the story, I was also learning more about Nietzsche's perspective on things. That then made me want to read all of Nietzsche's books. But yeah, one of these days I'll put a book list together. Rich, could you recommend any particular speed reading course or technique? Yeah, speed reading is relatively simple, right? It just requires practice. More than anything else, you just need to know a few rules, and then it's all about practice. So many people have had the experience. Let me just cut it back to me for a second here. How do I do that now? I guess I go no, to this. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So I took two speed reading classes when I was really young, and I never really learned how to speed read because I didn't have the discipline to actually do the exercises. And if you don't do the exercises, you're not going to really get anywhere. Most of us can listen to audio at much faster speeds without much practice. And even when we hit our limit, let's say like that you can listen at 200% and still understand it, right? But let's at 150% and you still understand it, but at 200%, you don't understand it. If you go to 250 and listen for just a few minutes and then back it down to 200, you'll be able to understand it. Same with video, right? Audio, video. It's the same when we're driving, like on the highway. You go to 80 and then you cut down to like 60. It feels like you're going really slow. With reading, unfortunately, the process takes longer. Okay, so that's what you got to know first. Second, if you're going to speed read, the most important thing that you got to get past is subvocalization, which is saying the words in your head. You have to be able to see the word, know what it means without having to articulate the word in your mouth. And so there are a couple ways to get yourself to stop saying the words. One is you can listen to music, right? Sometimes I do. Another is chew gum, which I often do. The only time I'm really not chewing gum is when I'm doing these live streams. Or you can put a pencil in your mouth because you can't move your tongue when a pencil's in your mouth. So that's first, right? You got to break those barriers. Now, the way you break those barriers is by going faster than you can comprehend. You have to train your eyes to move faster than you comprehend, and you have to be okay with that. You have to be able to practice reading without getting anything. And what I found, the way I finally learned how to speed read was to use an app called Quick Reader. And actually, now that I have my iPad here, I can probably show it to you. So let me see. And what Quick Reader does, let's see, is it shows you the book. This is okay. No, I'm sorry. That's Quick Reader. I'm looking for that's Voice Stream. I'm looking for Quick Reader. What Quick Reader does is, let's see, I'm just trying to see what would be interesting here. Okay, so let's see. The AWAI Masters Program. Let's go to that. Okay, so right now this is set for 3,500 words a minute. So I'll just give you a sense of what that looks like. So at 3,500 words a minute, it's a little bit fast for me. I'm sure it's kind of super fast for many of you. But what I would do is every morning when I was working out, I would be going, like, taking a bunch of stuff like this, which these are my notes, which are is really useful that they're my notes because I'm not worried about getting it, right? And what I would do is I'd first start reading it at, let's say, at that time I was reading about 500 words a minute, like what I could read, and I would go up to 1,000 words a minute, and I would go through a bunch of stuff like, and then I would go through it at 2,000 words a minute or 2,500 words a minute, then 3,000 words a minute, then maybe 4,000 words a minute. And then I would back it down to like 1,000. And I would do that every day, right? And I was doing this with my notes. So it was just another way to review my notes anyway. And over time, I got faster and faster and faster and faster. And so nowadays, I can read at about 2,500 words a minute. The other tool I use, but this tool alone is what got me speed reading. And what I was speed reading were all my notes, so I wasn't worried about getting it. And then I could go as fast as I really just training my eyes to look at groups. So this is 3,500 words a minute, 2 stops per line. I like 2 stops per line. Some people can see a whole line at a time. My eyes can't. So I stop at 2. But, when you first start, it might be just one word at a time. And this has helped tremendously. And then the other one is Voice Dream, right? And I showed you this relationship cure thing, right? So I'm going to bookmark this here because this is generally my first pass through a book. I'm going to go through it on this. I'm going to have it read to me at about 670 words a minute because that's the fastest this program goes. And if I like it, then I'm going to read it again, but now I'm going to highlight it and do all those things. So I don't know if you're going to be able to hear this. I think you will. I'm going to put... I'm going to unmute this, put it on playthrough. So let's see if you hear it.
Children. Every time she tries to talk with Harry, he puts her off. So she winds up handling things alone. By now she's starting to feel very lonely. They have a baby 11 months. Their relationship, however, can wait. Tonight she's determined that she wants to Harry about their son. And she's determined that she's going to get some help from Harry right now. How does Harry react to her demands? He yells. How does Harry deal with one question after another all day? He calls. All I want is a little bit of peace when I get home so that I can read the newspaper in the morning. Is that too much to ask? Yes, it is. Jane tells him, especially considering that he's an absent family who requires.
So I don't know if you heard that or not. And if it sounded horrible, it's only because you don't have headphones on and it's being broadcast. It's generally pretty clear when you do it. But hopefully, Renan, that gives you some guidance. It's much more about practice than it is anything else. And there's only so far you just can't read that much faster unless you can use your finger and go faster. But in order to develop, it's a skill. And in order to develop a skill, you have to practice. And there's no way around that when it comes to reading. So no matter what course you get, at the end of the day, it's going to be determined by what you do. What I just showed you is an easy way to have it done for you, right? It's pacing for you. And because it's pacing for you, it takes a lot of the effort out of the equation and discipline needed, and it just happens by happenstance. So hopefully that helps. Renan, no offense, Rich, but in an ADHD world, to me, attention and getting people present is everything. I don't know why you're saying that in that way, though, James. I mean, isn't that what I'm saying? That like being, or are you saying that I'm not present, and that's why no offense? Or are you agreeing with me that getting attention is more important than even persuasion? Uh, Not sure just the angle of that, but tell me more. Per se would be a ridiculously great book. Maybe when I die one day, people will take them all and put them together. Rich, what is the book you just mentioned on attention versus persuasion? There is no book on attention versus persuasion, but there's a really good book. It's somewhat outdated now, but I still think it's worth a read. Is Ken Saccharin's book called Attention! Exclamation point. Just attention! Exclamation point. I'm getting those notifications as well. How bizarre. Okay. So what that means is that I'm going to turn off my system audio. I'm going to turn off my Skype, turn off my... Oh, maybe it's Skype because Skype wasn't muted, and maybe you're hearing Skype. Let me know if you hear them going forward. I've just muted everything but my microphone, so you shouldn't hear them anymore. But weird. Occasionally getting a popping noise. Yeah. It's I will probably figure that out after the holidays. Yes, I hear those notifications too. Sorry, though I deleted the message. They are repeated. Okay, no worries. Yes, subtle popping noise like a bubble sound. Are you guys still hearing it now? You really shouldn't hear it now. Let me know. All right. Thanks, Rich. It's great to hear from someone who is logical, strategic, and methodical in their approach to marketing and sales. Welcome to Rich Hype Free Zone. Very cool. What book did you say audio was garbled? Attention, with an exclamation point. I second Tom Herman's suggestion. Your Colby Index A states that this is one of your superpowers. Yeah. Yeah, and I love, like, so maybe I'll start doing that because, I know that most people don't put in the time to read all the classics, to study the classics, to really, like, get all of those gems out. Like, take a look at the notes on Breakthrough. Tell me what you think. Like, would your notes look like that? Etc. Giancarlo, what's your absolute persuasion and influence book? Recommend like an advanced version type. I would say that there aren't very many better than Blair Warren's Forbidden Keys of Persuasion. If you're talking about a book on persuasion, I would say that that ranks up there. It also really depends on your use, though. If it's for writing, I could think of maybe the Political Speechwriter's Companion, which I mentioned the other day. Um, yeah, so it just really depends on, and I'd probably recommend other ones for different applications as well. Um, Isabella, good to see you. Isabella's like my number one fan. She always posts about me in Instagram and is very active in the group. And I am very appreciative, Isabella, for all the wonderful things that you say about me. So thank you so much. Uh, Good seeing you here, Isabella. That'd be amazing. Read a lot of books you mentioned or recommended. Would love to learn more. Cool. All right. Is there going to be a live stream on Thursday? There might be. If there is, I will announce it on Thursday. Like I'll put it out there. If it is, it'll be very casual. Maybe I'll do it from like my cell phone or something like that. It'll give me a reason to get away from the table. Uh, it'll all depend if my mom has good internet, I guess. But I'd like to. Do you have an equation for a high impact minimum effort task do you have an equation? An equation for high impact minimum effort tasks in business? Paul, ask me more about that question. I like the question, but I'm not sure where you're going with it, but I bet you I do, but I'm not even thinking in the right lane yet. So expand on that. Great tips and advice. Thanks, man. Let's see. And just to not to beat a dead horse, but if you're getting value out of this, please share it. That's how this benefits me. When you share it, it does two things. One, it lets whoever you share it and wherever you share it know, and I might be able to enter into some other people's world. Entrepreneurship, growing a business, marketing online, as easy as it possibly can be. And I know that I still got a lot to do because it ain't that easy for many people. And so when you share it, you're helping me, one, by putting me in touch with other people, but two, Facebook uses how many shares there are and how many emotions and how many comments there are as an indicator of whether this stream should be shared with, the 120,000 fans that I have of my Facebook page, or the 4,000 people in the Facebook group, or, the 1,800 people that follow me on Instagram. We got to boost that number up a little bit. But so I appreciate that. And that's why if you're getting value out of this, it's not a big thing to press the share button. For your speed reading app, do you buy books on Amazon or somewhere else? I noticed Kindle is not supported. No, Kindle is not supported. I end up making a lot of my own EPUBs, or I take EPUBs and break them because different programs have different uses. So you need to put them in EPUB form, and to put something in EPUB form, you should use Calibre. It's a free app. It's the standard to turn anything into an ebook. And that's what I use, Calibre. I think that's Spanish for book. And then I use like different kind of hacking software to bust the locks on different things. But also, on, Amazon books in particular. Yeah, sometimes I have to scan in a book just so that I can read it on my computer, which is why, like I was showing the political speechwriters companion the other day, it was already chopped. I have a guillotine downstairs that we used to chop all the books I read before there were books available digitally, and so we still have that guillotine downstairs. Da, 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 da. I heard that. Oh yeah, I bet you like. So you guys probably just didn't hear that Skype message, but I heard it because I have everything muted. So yeah, let me know if you're still hearing those sounds. All right. Sorry, I miswrote that statement. Please disregard the AD. Okay, cool. Yeah, sure what you were telling me. Thank you, Rich. I remember you sharing how you consume content so quickly before by having people extract the book, highlight text. Glad to know Quick Reader and Voice Dream app is available for us. Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, like probably the most popular video I ever created was a video on how I consume content. It's on YouTube. I'm hearing those weird things. Um, Hopefully you're not hearing it. So anyway, you could always check out Rich reading Google, and I'm sure it'll take you to that video. Rich, you recommended comedy Inside Argument. I think that's a misspelling. So thank you so much, Richard. Well, no longer popping. Yeah, now it's popping on my side. I don't know which I like better. Someone is mouth popping under Rich table. I'd be in a lot of trouble with my girlfriend if someone was underneath this, and she's in the other building, so she might come running over to make sure. All right. Insightful. I'd really like to hear the rest of the whiteboard explained as I cannot see all the words on it. Good work, Rich. Yeah, let's get back to that. I will quickly go through what we got here. Weird. Came across this the other day. Misophonia is related to ADHD. When you can't stand noises like the sound of people slurping or chewing. Oh, that's interesting. Shared. Asher, you're the man. I can still hear it at times. All right. Well, I reached out to Ecamm. They don't know that I'm a power user and have probably helped sell a bunch of their software. Maybe one of these days, someone from Ecamm will know that I'm actually using their thing twice a week and telling. But I'm having a problem getting movies to or videos, the sound out, and I'm not sure what the problem is. And so I'm still waiting for customer service to get back to me on that. Just heard it again. Calibre is Spanish for caliber. Nope, don't hear the notifications anymore. Some of you are, some of you aren't. No more popping notifications here. We hear a weird popping sound. No one better be under that table. Oh, yep, there's Kim. I knew she would. But are you still hearing it, sweetie? Popping over here too. What kind of popping? Can anyone describe hearing popping? Just heard it again, like a max headroom type of sound. How long did it take to make your first dollar as a marketer? I see it takes years to get results. It I've made money my whole life. Um, but online, when I created my first product, which was an ebook on baby modeling, because both my daughters were baby models. Um, all right, let's see. Oh, geez. Logan, spot on. It's like a max headroom type sound. Yeah, okay, I'm getting what it is. For sound, test loopback audio. Okay. Huh. And right now I have, oh, well, now I can, let's see. That's muted. All right. Yeah, weird. All right, well, not sure what it could be because I even have crisp on. Yeah, weird. Okay, anyway, let's get back to it. Although, as I just want you to understand like what goes on in my brain for a minute. the fact that we're talking about this sound thing is a good thing because it's getting a bunch of you to comment. And because Facebook judges these live streams based on the number of comments, even if you're talking about the sound, I probably benefit. All right. So anyway, let's. Okay. So missing piece. I think where I want to focus, because we don't have that much time today, we got another like 20 minutes. I want to focus on a few that I think are probably really valuable. One I've kind of talked about a little bit, but I don't think I've gotten enough detail about these two. Crossroads, right, and the disease. And the disease one is probably the one that I use the most and also have used the most and also created myself. So, and this was, if you've ever heard me talk about like driven to distraction, uh, uh, where it like that's what that kind of inspired me to do. And I'm just pulling it up here because I know I have this in the workbook. I'm pretty sure I have it in the workbook. Oh, geez. Oh, there it is. Okay. And now I need to do the view. Just okay. Hide sidebar, thumbnails. Okay, there we go. So now let's. All right. More often than not, when I'm going into a market, or in the online market, weird. Yep. Weird occasional sound breaks. Not so much. I'm wondering maybe if it's. Let's see. You know what it is? Probably I moved my mic to go through my monitor. It's probably that. I'll change it back. Okay, so I've said this before, but I want to go into a little bit more detail about this. So I call it creating the disease, right? And this is based on the experience that I had when I was reading Driven to Distraction. When you understand ADD, right? All ADD is they can't do a blood test for it. They can't really do a brain scan and say this person has ADD and this person doesn't. All ADD is, like the overwhelming majority of or psychological issue, is a set of behaviors that we draw a circle around and label. That's it, right? So if someone does not attend to details, loses focus, tends to hyper focus sometimes, but not in control of it, interrupt people, etc., we call this ADD. So all it is a set of behaviors. Okay. So what I did, because that was profound to me, the impact it had on me as a reader, right, was profound. So what I did was I went into the market, right? I looked at all of the issues that people said got in their way of being successful, their problems, right? And I took those behaviors and I put a circle around it and I called it opportunity seeking, right? I created the disease of opportunity seeking, and you know you have that disease when you display these behaviors, just like you know you have ADD when you display these behaviors. And that then allows me to do a lot of things, right? So I want to kind of walk you through this. So first is look at the root cause of what's causing these behaviors. So one of the ways you can do a root cause is by just asking why continuously, right? So I buy lots of courses but never complete them. Searching for something that works. Why? right? So you just keep asking. And what you'll find is oftentimes what's called the convergence of cause. So if you start out like, I'm just going to write over here. Well, I can just do this. Okay. Just show you here. If you start with like, let's say 5 problems, what you'll find over time is that they converge. Like the whys, as you ask why, there'll be less of them, right? And so you find this root cause. So that then, I take the behaviors in the market, I group them as a disease, right? Not really a disease, I'm just using that vernacular. The disease is caused by this. The solution that gets rid of this, right, is my product that then gets rid of all these, right? Let me know. I've taught this so many times, and I've taught it at different levels of depth. This is probably the amount of depth I've ever taught it. Let me know if that makes sense, and then if it makes sense, what questions that opens up in your mind. The disease thing is the same thing I did to sell theory of constraints, right? Showing people that they were focused completely on potential. So I didn't call it a disease. It didn't even have that kind of flavor. But if we wanted to say it was a disease, it would be potential focused as opposed to constraint eliminating. And so what I showed was a bunch of behaviors that all they do is add potential, but you don't necessarily transform potential into results unless there are no constraints. So that's kind of there. Now, when you when you create the disease, and once again, maybe that's not the right way to describe it. Like maybe that makes us seem more manipulative than we really are. I'm just trying to create a label for a bunch of behaviors, right? And have people self-identify. I want you to understand something though, and this is important, and then we'll go to the crossroads, right? And then we'll call it a day. So, you've got these problems, right? Problem 1, problem 2, problem 3, problem 4, problem 5, right? And I come into the market and I say, and I don't only say it, but I walk you through and prove it, that all of these problems are not problems, right? Oh, I'm drawing and you can't see it. They're not problems. They're symptoms, right? Let me make that. They're symptoms. What are they symptoms of? They're symptoms of the disease, right? I'll finish it. Or whatever. And that's that convergence of cause. Okay. So, if someone walks into the doctor and they have a sore throat, a runny nose, they're coughing, they have their ears hurt, those are all problems, but they're symptoms of the flu or COVID or whatever, right? You don't treat symptoms, you eliminate problems. So remember what I said earlier. And if you have been with me on this live stream, I think if you've enjoyed everything I've said, you're going to get a 10x payoff right now. Okay. Clear that a marketplace is made up of a group of people that share a conflict, and that's a problem unresolved or a goal unattained. And most people have not been able to achieve the outcome. In fact, all of the people in the market haven't, because if they achieve the outcome, if they resolve the problem, achieve the goal, they're probably not still consuming and buying in that market, right? So we know that these people share a conflict, and we know they've been trying to eliminate it, and they have not been able to. That's people who have these problems, right? And they have not been able to solve them. That's why they're still in the market. So when I come into the market and I say, these are symptoms, these aren't problems, In order to get rid of these, you have to do this. You have to get rid of this. Think about what that does, okay? This does so many things, it's insane, okay? This is probably, of all the things I've created, and I've created a lot, right? From the automated webinar to chain of beliefs to a bunch of things that people use like standard. This is probably the most powerful, which is, I'm kind of happy not too many people use it, and I probably should stop teaching it. But you've struggled, right? You're trying to get an outcome. You're experiencing these problems. I come into the market and I tell you, these aren't problems, these are symptoms. And you can't get rid of those symptoms unless you get rid of the problem, right? The disease. So this then allows for why this gets person off the hook for not solving these problems. Like I felt when I read ADD and having beaten myself up for years about being distracted, about not paying attention to detail, about being flaky. What I came to conclude as I was learning, reading this book on ADD, was that I couldn't have solved them. These are all symptoms of ADD, and I've never even thought I had ADD, right? So this turns a reason why they have not succeeded, which automatically gives people newfound hope now that once they solve this, all of these problems go away. So you don't have 5 problems. You have one problem that exposes 5 symptoms. We get rid of that one problem, these all disappear. Okay, that's powerful in and of itself, right? Now, think about what everyone else is selling. Everyone else is selling stuff to this. So everyone else is just selling a Band-Aid, right? They are, in fact, not helping you get rid of that problem, solve that conflict. They may be actually even making it worse. So you've taken all your competitors and you've made them kind of irrelevant because they sell a Band-Aid and you're the only one that sells the solution. Now, you've also given people, if you've done this right, new insight into their problem. Right? You've created that epiphany, that revelation, like, oh my God, I could have never solved this on my own. Oh my God, now I know what I need to do. Oh my God, this changes everything, like I said earlier, right? So let me know if you are starting to see the power in this. Let's see. Uh, It's Rich's brain. I think you guys were talking about the sound. Ever thought about doing something in the Hispanic market? We signed a deal with Brazil. We'll be in Brazil shortly. That's Portuguese though. We're looking for Spanish partners. We would love to be in the Spanish. It's a huge market. Let's see. Oh, I just heard it too. I heard that popping. Weird sound breaks. Okay. That's a man mouth popping for sure. When you say popping, like that, um, love this. Completely makes sense. Can you expand on why would you have the disease under why now? Oh, those are not related. Like you mean on the board? On the board, it's just those are all the tactics. So I just as I was thinking of them, I threw them on the board. That was so powerful. I can execute this strategy today. Sweet. Cool, man. Cool. This is excellent, Rich. Very helpful. Cool. The disease is platinum. Thank you again, Rich. You're welcome. It gives people a new perspective. It's more powerful than persuasion. It's a form of persuasion, but I can see what you're saying. Boom. This is extremely powerful for sure. This is amazing. Super valuable. Yep, I see it. Cool. Absolutely love it. Very powerful. Thank you. You just made the sound. So the sound is like that? How bizarre. How odd would that be if there's like another camera and like it's a two-way camera? Maybe Kim has been spying on me all this time. I think you should stop teaching the disease thing and leave it to us. Yes, good. Objection and competitor killer, however, requires cognitive focus, so would work in info products, but an example in an emotional framework might be interesting too. Totally agree with you, Mark. And even when you present something like this, it has to be done in an emotional way. There is no question, right, that logic does not sell 90% of the time. It must, and one of the easiest ways the emotion in a marketing message is to create more contrast, right? And that's why I recommend, for those of you who were asking for book recommendations earlier, the book Resonate by Nancy Duart. Probably the best book I've ever read, bar none, when it comes to creating contrast, right? For that, it's a great book, but for creating contrast, I have not come across anything better. And when you know how the brain works, you would put creating contrast right up there very high as one of the most important things to do. It's one of the easiest ways for the brain to get a message is to create contrast, and it amps it up if you create that kind of contrast. But I totally, and that then creates the emotional vibe. So totally agree with you, Mark. Don't agree with you that it's only for info products. It could be done for a lot of things, right? I've for quite a few things, not only information products, but no matter what, you would need more than just this anyway. That's my point, I guess. Okay, got it. This changes my way of thinking about my problems. Uh, as it should anyway, because reality is a lot more complicated than we realize. Can you do a whole full marketing argument in an email and then send them straight to a checkout form? Yes, you can, Giancarlo. Yes, you can. In fact, I think the fastest way to make money is send out an email and send people to an order form, right? Or to a PayPal address, right? You don't need a website. You don't need anything at the end of the day. Um, Looking forward to work with you if you decide to enter the Indian market. I'd love to enter the Indian market. If you're interested in bringing us to the Indian market, reach out to us in the Facebook group. So simple but so strong and useful. Thanks, Rich, for sharing. Great, man. Okay, I'm going to. The sound is like a stutter break, huh? LOL. Any book, course, or resource to expand on the idea of learning to create ahas and epiphanies? There is. I can recommend. Wow, did I make that small? I don't even know how I did that. Um, I have not a great book on epiphanies, right? But if I think Russell talks about it in Expert Secrets because I taught this at the report writing workshop and Dagan shared that with Russell and hence, right? But I have studied epiphanies quite a bit. And it's a reorganization of insights into something more profound. There is a book that by Gary Klein. I think it's Seeing What Others Don't. I think is one. And then I forget what it's called. It's a religious thing. Ask me this again, Evelio, and I'll tell you. I think it's remember it, but like in the I guess around the 1700s, I'm not really sure when it was, like there would be these preachers that would go around America, like have these tent kind of evangelical kind of things before they all got their churches. And there's a type of like total transformation of a person having their worldview shifted, and there's a term for that, and I forgot what it is, but it's kind of that's even more powerful than just an epiphany. Um, I guess we'll wait for the Crossroads thing for either Thursday or next Tuesday. It's been 2 hours. I've got a bunch of more CLR winners to do today. My day is not over, unfortunately. Got lots to do, and I've got Matt, who I have disappointed on getting him some stuff, so I got to get him that stuff. Popping sounds like a latency issue or an interruption from another app, possibly. Yeah, it also could be, though, that I have my mic plugged into my I have my mic plugged into my monitor. My monitor is plugged into my adapter that allows me to run multiple monitors, and then that goes into my computer. So it might just be too many layers. I will take a look at it though. Um, and I do a collaboration with Dan Locke. He is a savvy marketer too. Don't know him very well. I knew him when he was just a copywriter. Um, he's kind of I've been really kind of kept my reputation clean. He kind of is on the border there, and so I don't think I would. Nothing against Dan. I don't know him, and I don't know that he does anything wrong. I just would prefer to not be aligned with anyone that is more of a lightning rod. Hey, Rich, your thoughts on using nootropics as mental supplement support, especially as we above 40 years old or older? I know Joe Rogan loves them. Elaine, I think that's the right way to pronounce it. Elaine, I do a amount of nootropics, and everything from the acetams, aniracetam, phenylpiracetam, piracetam, oxiracetam, fasiracetam, all of them. And I also do quite a few research chemicals. So right now I'm taking 9-ME. I'm also taking IDRA, IDRA, I think, dash 21. I'm also taking bromotain. These are all research chemicals, so I don't necessarily suggest them for everyone. And the gentleman who is like my rabbi when it comes to nootropics is a guy by the name of Ryan Ballow. He has a channel on YouTube called Cortex Labs, because that's the name of his company. I've never met anyone who knows more about nootropics than Ryan. And anyone who's uber serious about Ryan, I'll put up a little plug for him. Because I've had a bunch of friends do this and have benefited. I think he charges like $3,500 for 6 months, where he actually concocts you tell him your issues, you tell him what you're trying to do, you tell him where you're struggling, whatever, and then he creates the stack for you. He sends you the pills. They pill them and send it to you. You report back, and they keep modifying it until they get you the outcome that you want. But regardless of whether you ever go down that road or you just watch his free videos on YouTube, which he does pretty frequently, and they're really great. He does live streams as well. He's also got some great books on different stacks that he's developed, and I like quite a few of them. But to answer your question, yes, I have been running on nootropics for about 15 to 20 years. In fact, when people bought Steal Our Winners in the mystery box, I believe there's a book in there, or like a 30, 40-page book from Ryan on the stacks that he recommends entrepreneurs should take. But yeah, I love Ryan. I can't say enough positive things about him. It's kind of the same reason why, like, I don't know Dan Locke, and I don't have anything against him, but I see people are very mixed about him, and therefore I am careful to associate with someone like that. Because I want to keep my stuff as clean as possible, so that when I say someone like Ryan, people know that, like, I am reluctant to send anyone to anybody that I don't believe in. And Ryan treats me like I sent Kim to Ryan. Some of my closest friends talk to Ryan. I would send my kids to Ryan, right? All right. Let's see. Smiley, sad face. Please, with all due respect, not with Dan Locke. He's blatantly stolen stuff. There you go. See? Hence, why? No worries. Varieties of religious experience. William James. Yes, I'm a big fan of William James. Definitely. If you like variety of religious experiences, you should read Huxley's Perennial Philosophy. Very good. Inside marketing. Well, comedy is just a way to impart value. You have to give value for someone's attention, right? You can do that with information, like highly valuable information that gives someone an insight. But you could also do that with comedy. You could also do that with wit, right? I like listening to witty people like a Conor McGregor, because you never know, like, when he's going to you laugh, so you hang on every word. So wit is also very powerful. But comedy is and I don't know comedy that well, and obviously I'm not the funniest guy. Comedy, more than anything else, is misdirection. right? You're leading people down to think one thing, and then at the last minute you turn here. Magic is misdirection, but it's a different kind of misdirection. And marketing is misdirection in the sense that we're going to have them focus on these benefits and completely forget about like the cost, the effort involved, like all these kinds of things. But yeah, I mean, look, if I was funnier, which I wouldn't mind being, that would make these live streams more entertaining too. And so if you laughed 15 or 20 times during this live stream, well, on this one, I don't know what you were laughing at, but if you laughed and the live stream, you would just be more likely to come back, all things being equal, right? Um, Hey, Rich, if you decide to go into Spanish-speaking market, I would target U.S. Spanish-speaking customers first, and then use social proof for the rest of the Spanish-speaking prospect. No, it works for physical products. It might work for info products. Yeah, good thought, Hugo. And the way I license is I license in languages. So, like, my partner in Brazil owns everything. Well, like they have the rights to everything of mine in Portuguese, right? So normally I would get a one person, maybe Spanish might be too big, but the Spanish in Spain is different from Mexico, so maybe, yeah, I don't know. But ideally, I'd find one Spanish partner who's willing to take it all, and then bring it around the world. Maybe that person will find me, or maybe we'll have to go looking for that person. What is the best place to sign up for Steal Our Winners? The best place to sign up for Steal Our Winners. You know what? We'll put a link in the group. That's the best place. The Kennedy wrote, "Make them laugh and take their money." Yep. And it's for the same reason. Anyway, guys, I'm over already, and I know I probably have a call in like 10 minutes or something like that. I want to thank each and every one of you for commenting. This was great. Thank you for those of you who shared. Thank you for the emoticons. I hope this was valuable to you. I do this, like I said, twice a week. I do it so that, one, I can help fulfill my overall purpose, which is to make growing a business and owning a business and marketing a business more likely to be successful and easier, right? I do that in my paid products and my coaching and all that kind of stuff, and I do that here as well. I also think that, one of the easiest ways to prove that you've got the goods is just to show up and actually help people, right? So this is my way of kind of establishing I know what I'm talking about, to help as many people as possible. Your comments, your feedback help me, one, stay in touch with the market. It also lets Facebook know to share it with others. And if you shared it, then you're my absolute hero. And if you're not a member of the Facebook group, please join it. And I really appreciate each and every one of you for being here. I know there's a million things you could do on a Tuesday from 2 to 4. You chose to be here with me, with everyone else who's watching, and to participate in the conversation. And for that, I truly appreciate you. And I try to do my level best to provide you valuable information in return for you being here. So thank you once again. I will do my very I just heard that popping again. I will do my very best to do something on Thursday, even if it's just from my iPhone and it's a shorter one. But it would be a nice break, I'm sure, from Thanksgiving dinner. And we will see. So Profits and Beyond, this is Rich Schefren over and out. See everyone on Thursday. Adios.